So let's get on to the event today. Next month in April, on the 16th of April, is again going to be a Monday, the third Monday of the month, St. Patrick's Day. Boston will run again. The marathon is going to happen, and I think a lot of Indians are going to the marathon this time. And I was just going through some of the articles which were written, and I could pick up one piece from the Time, which was written in 2016, which I thought embodies what Boston Marathon was. So I would like to read that before we get on to the session today. So 30,000 runners, 1 million spectators, 26 2/10 of a mile. For its participants and spectators, the Boston Marathon is an exhilarating numbers game, one that tests the grit, endurance and commitment of amateur and pro runners eager to finish the most prestigious race of them all. But the marathon isn't just a scenic and grueling run around the city on a hill. It is one of the events that helped define the modern marathon. And just to let you know, the Boston Marathon first kicked off in the year 1897. So it has a long history, probably the oldest marathon in the world. And today we have a small piece of that history in the form of these runners, because for me, when I started off running, I could identify with each of them because they were at some point in time had already done Boston or probably aspiring to do Boston, and I could have stories of each one of them when I used to follow them in terms of how they went about achieving that milestone. Having said that, thank you very much. What is so great about Boston? And I would ask this question to Ashok, because I know that he's very passionate about this event, so I would like to ask him this first.
I think after you've seen Boston and you compare it to going to the other global races, forget the domestic ones, you still will see a major change. I mean, there's a big difference. Boston, the whole city comes behind the event. The road where it ends, everything the day before is like on a holiday. People are walking on that finish line. It's just the atmosphere of it is so special that you normally get bitten and you might never think that you're going to plan to come again, but you end up doing it. So that's one reason. The other is, which I think is again a personal thing, it doesn't need to apply to everybody, is you will never find the level of competition in other races as you will find at Boston. I normally describe it as it's a pressure cooker. From the start to the finish, there is no let-up. So unlike in any other event where you go, you might stop, you might take a photograph, you might ease off, you might get bored, lonely. Boston, it's either move or get trampled.
Exactly.
You know? So of course there's a wave 4, which is the slow runners, that they might have a different story, but for anybody in up to wave 3, it's the pressure cooker, run or be run over. So I think if you're competitive, it sort of brings out the instincts in you where you stop and say, okay, if last year I was this ranking at Boston, I want to improve it because I know I'm competing against the best. So I think that's what makes me keep coming back again and again, where you want to see that where do you stand on the global stage.
So Bhaskar, when you kind of did quite early in the entire evolution of the scene, was it still a very sought after event, and probably much more than what it is today?
Yeah, I think it's getting more and more sought after, as you can see from the globally, as you can see from the increasing cutoff times. But clearly, anybody who gets into becoming a serious recreational marathoner, for them then it becomes aspirational, and so it was. That I had said that I want to try and do it in the 55 to 60 age group, and I set myself a plan for that and managed to do that.
Right. Me and Bobby really experienced what is Boston. After the event, the medal which we wear, the moment the public, whoever passes through, they'll all congratulate.
When you go into the expo at Boston and otherwise, the participants who are there going to run the race, there's a level of fitness which you experience, which you don't see in the other global races. Here, because of this level at which it is, everybody, male, even the women look like tough. There is no pussyfooting around here. The men are equally tough. So it's like a different animal who's running that race than when you see other places where you see these occasional tough guys mixed with normal looking people. But I think that's again a result of, to reach there you have to be like this, so those people look like that.
I think just to add to that, it's most of the, and particularly Boston, I think being the oldest race in the world, it's run for like 130 odd years. It didn't even stop during the World War.
This is 122nd year.
122nd year. I think the only marathon or only race, unlike comrades, even comrades stopped during the World War and took a break.
Right.
But Boston never stopped. No matter any war was raging in the world, I think that sort of makes it special that most of, say, the New York Marathon or London or Berlin, every race took its inspiration from the Boston Marathon. So I think that makes it historic. And adding to that, it's I think in every human being, we may be all recreational runners, but the moment you start getting a little bit better, and the moment you start feeling that I can do better and I'm improving, then you put Boston on your agenda, saying that, let me see how good I am. Am I in the top 20%, 30% in the world? And I think what makes Boston exciting is the preparation perspective. And I must admit, although I was lucky enough that I qualified very quickly, but the preparation that goes and that goal that people take, that's what makes Boston special. It's not like you can sign up and you can go and show up. If you don't qualify, nobody in this world is going to give you a ticket to Boston unless you pay $10,000, $20,000 on charity. So it's that challenge which makes you test yourself and go back every year and say, how good am I? We all feel really great about our timings in the country and we're on the podium. But when you go there, you realize that you're perhaps at best in the top 10% in your age group. And so therefore being on the podium in India actually means really nothing.
To the audience. We will have a Q&A later at the end of the discussion. So, does anyone know when the first woman ran the Boston Marathon? 1967. Okay. Okay, that's one good answer. Any other answers? Great. The other answer, which somebody else might give, is 1972. So, anybody who wants to take a guess as to what is 1967 and what is 1972?
Women are not allowed to
67 was illegal, 72 was legal.
So, Vaishali, would you want to explain the background?
So I think it was interesting, and there is, I read Catherine Schweitzer's book. I mean, usually when people talk about the first woman to run, Catherine Schweitzer gets a lot of publicity and press because she took it to heart and made it her life's mission over 50 years to women in sports and getting more women to run. But actually before Catherine Schweitzer, there was a lady called Bobby Gibbs who had actually run the Boston Marathon several times. She used to, and this popular story around this is 3 or 4 women used to go and hide in the bushes at the start of where does it start? Ashland in those days. In those days it used to be in Ashland. So they used to hide in the bushes, and when the gun used to go off, the women used to cover themselves up and pretend to look like men and join the race and finish, and they would register under their family names without, like Catherine Schweitzer would register as K. Schweitzer. So Bobby Gibbs ran the race several times, then Catherine Schweitzer came on the scene. She registered as K. Schweitzer. She and her boyfriend started the race, but the race director saw her from the press truck. He got down and he tried to snatch her bib, and that's actually the photograph which has become really historic today. If you Google Catherine Schweitzer, the first thing you see is a lady running and a guy trying to snatch her bib, but she managed to push him off and she completed the race. 3 years she lobbied really hard. Every year she ran illegally, and in 72 they actually made it legal for women to race the full distance of the marathon.
So are you saying before Catherine
Bobby Gibbs ran,
actually had run, but the
already
photograph
run.
made it symbolic of the
yeah.
Boston Marathon? Well, I didn't know that, so thank you so much. Anyway, Karthik, good one. And anyone knows the bib number of Catherine's sister?
Vaishali,
261 fearless.
261. Okay, let's get on to the next topic of discussion, the qualification of the Boston Marathon, right? I mean, that's a huge topic in itself. Probably ask JP to kind of elaborate on this, because I've seen some of his runs where he was attempting to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I think I've seen a lot of people, like I know Vikram, for example, yeah, but how difficult is it to qualify for a Boston Marathon?
See, my age group is 50 to 55, 330. So earlier I did 337 in Mumbai. Ashok is my coach that time. I took the reason I came from 430 to 337. Then I was running with Vaishali in Kabul Park. I used to always say I cannot do it. She used to say, no, you're good, you can do it, you can do it. So from 337, then the next year, 2014, I came to 319. But that 1 year, luckily, somebody paid me a lot of salary, I didn't work. So I had a lot of time. And my physio was there, Sujay, he's in Canada now. He had a lot of time. I did give a lot of time and preparation. And running from Ashok, a lot of things helped. Everything fell in place, and my pacer was Ironman, Nagaraj Arsha was there to help me. So a lot of help, support, and I'm sure I did. My training, the 2 years was amazing. I never thought the goal, I mean, forget about the dream. Sub 4 was a big deal at one stage. Then it's a great experience.
So were you confident that you will get to that goal because of that 1
See,
year?
from when I came to 337, my time was 330. So hope they are so close. I thought next year again. Then that year I really put a lot of, like I said, diet, fitness, a lot of weight, a lot of things. Fell in place.
Bobby, was it a cakewalk for you?
Yeah, for me there was never the Boston qualification as a criteria. I mean, it was just running. I did Boston more out of peer pressure, oneness, and then everyone is saying you're Boston qualified, how can you not do it? I mean, for me, traveling was never the motivation to do an event. So in fact, I've traveled extensively. I just hate to travel. Literally it is to that an extent. I hate to travel. It's really tough for me. So that was never the reason. So then it was peer pressure that we need to be, you need to experience it, and you do not know, next year whether you'll be as, can you do it again? We are never sure. So just did it as an experience. There was a good company. The coach was doing, Nisa was doing, the same year. So and obviously, everyone else. I mean, they are regular in those usual events. So and plus there were a few others who were doing it. So then I said, okay, let's do it once to experience it. But in my case, I have been lucky enough. Qualification is comparatively been a bit more easier. But unlike JP really put in a lot. He literally transformed his life. He took with him a physio for those events. He had pacers for the events. Before that also he's just a month before, less than that, he had done the Spice Coast, where again he took a physio with him. Took again a pacer with him, tested it. So that was I know Vikram also, he's been training extremely hard, with proper planning, with proper guidance and support. He's been training, and really a highly focused Boston qualification runs he's been doing. So yeah, it's been different, but in my case, it just gave up.
It happened. Neera?
My experience.
Your experience.
Okay. So I qualified for it through Mumbai Marathon in 2013 and 14. In 13, I didn't even realize that I qualified for it, because at that time I think it was not very popular. Not many people. The peer pressure was not much, I guess. So my main target was, okay, try to win a podium, try to win some money in local races. That was the target. Even now, that's the target. And yeah, but in 2014, when Pani sir and Bobby had qualified and they were ready to go to Boston, I said, okay, cool. I love to travel and I've got company now, so let me also go. So 2014, I went with both of them.
15.
And then 15, yes. So
Qualified
14 they qualified, and so 15 all three of us registered. And luckily I had a 6-minute margin, so I could comfortably get accepted and got registered. And then they said they want to do the Big Sur as well, 5 days later. I said, okay, cool. I would go to the West Coast too. I have a lot of friends there. I would love to travel there also. So I wanted to see the US. So and running the race was also part of it. I said, okay, let's do both. So I went there. The race as such was something very exciting for me. I wanted to see what's the big hangama about Boston Marathon. So I wanted to absorb everything. It was like a child in the candy store. In the beginning, I took my phone, I took my armband to click a lot of pictures. I said, okay, international marathon, I'll take it easy. I'll go and have a look what is happening around there. So from the start till the end, but the first half I couldn't take it easy. Like he said, it's like a sea of people all charged with energy, like raring to go. They're prepared, they've like put in years of hard work. So I thought to take it easy, but there people are running at sub-5 pace in my corral when we started. So I couldn't stop. So with the sea of people I also went, but after first half I said, okay, now I'll just get out of the road and let everybody go. And took it easy. First race where I ate things, saw the spectators, enjoyed the music and all that, took pictures and saw people, the energy of runners, and slowly I could see age groups passing by. Then I was finally running with people who are 80 plus years. Then finally the injured people and cramped people who had just given up in the end. And it was very exciting, very good experience for me. And it was very cold. First thing, it was.
We'll talk about the actual race
okay.
a little bit later. So I
Okay,
just wanted to concentrate on the qualifier a little bit more.
Sure.
So the other point that I wanted to touch on is the men versus women angle in terms of. I mean, it's a little tricky subject, but I think it's good to talk about it a little bit. One view is that if you look at the qualifying limit, which is put up on the TV. I'm sure not all can see it, but there is a lot of
basically it's half
gap.
an hour.
30 minutes.
Half an hour gap
30
between
minutes.
qualification for a man versus a woman. So any of the panelists have any views on
Yeah, my corral was full of women runners. All I can say is my corral was full of women.
I think Boston qualified. I'll tell you
3:30 and plus is always.
the reason why it's done. So
Actually,
I think I have.
you can talk a little louder.
Yeah, so I think there is, I mean, I also felt, and I continue to believe that when you look at the elite runners, the difference is perhaps 18 to 20 minutes, right? So why should there be a 30-minute difference for women? But, so I mean, I think today, it's far easier for women to qualify than men. And, you know, I'm an absolute feminist, I believe everything should be equal, but things shouldn't be so much easier for the women as compared to the men. I think there is opportunity to tighten the standards, and I think it will happen over time. So when I researched, I found out that the reason it is half an hour, handicap to women is because they want a level playing field. They want 50% of the field to be women. And this is the only way they'll make the cut is if you keep a far more lenient time than men for women. Ideally, in my mind, if I look at the timings and if I compare the women and women, I think the handicap should not be 30 minutes, it should be about 20 minutes. And I'd be very happy if Boston changes that.
I mean, if you
Without changing the men's time.
That's probably one of the reasons why not many women have turned up today.
It's easy.
But we have one person who has done a 390. Anjali out here. Just wanted to introduce her while the show is going on.
might even be able to qualify. Whereas for the men, you better be on the top in your respective age groups.
So, just concluding that thread of discussion, Pani sir, do you think in a group, Facebook is obviously a lot of women, so do they have an aspiration to go to Boston, qualifying, and I'm talking about women.
Really, everybody wants to run a Boston, but for a woman in my group, very few people are there, actually qualified, except like Ranjani. I think maybe Vandana might be one who can aspire.
But do you really think women can probably qualify a little bit more easily?
Since it is little easier compared to men, I think they can qualify easy.
There are younger girls in the group, so for them it's still tougher.
Yeah, so that was one question that I wanted to ask. So, one of the questions is, if you look at, I mean, I don't want to reveal the age group.
Most veterans
including me. It looks like that people who tend to go to Boston from India are all on the older side.
Yes.
Is there a point of view?
We are
If you
just
look at the
hardworking.
qualifying times, it
It
just
is
favors
little
the
easier.
better.
No,
Yeah.
again.
No. I think it's relative, but
It is.
yeah.
I think older people are hardworking, more hardworking.
More time, more money.
There are people from the army and services who, a lot of them would do a 3
I'm
hours.
talking about amateurs.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not
mean-
get into this thing
Yeah,
of.
so
No,
from
if you notice, I think if you look from last year to let's say this year, next year, and the one to come, you're finding now the younger ones are also getting in.
Yeah.
So it's taken a little time for them because let's expect. It takes marathon training is like a project management. And it requires a certain mindset to do it well. So similarly, I think the younger people are coming in, and I think this is going to change a little bit.
But we did the hard work.
We laid
Paved the way, laid the foundation.
Can you plan the weather part, even though it's out of your control? If there are 5 scenarios, I have a feeling that you can at least plan for 3 of them. Any thoughts on that? And probably a lot of people, it's just not relevant only to Boston, but whenever you're doing a race, you have a few scenarios which are playing around.
And I don't think you can train for different kinds of weathers in like a 12-week time frame. You'll know roughly, is it warm, is it cold? You can't keep going to different parts of the country and training, but I think on race day you can definitely prepare your body and dress in layers. What works best is a thin, singlet, a t-shirt on top of that. If you think it's going to, a couple of hours before, if you think there's going to be rain, I never wear my best clothes for a race. I always wear my worst clothes. I'm out there to throw stuff which I know I'm not going to use later. An extra hat, a pair of sunglasses which I may use in the first half of the race, or I may even chuck in the second half, a pair of gloves. So always start with a lot more because you don't know how the weather will. If you're in, say, a Berlin or a London, it may not turn as dramatically. But if you're in Boston, I've seen the start and the finish also being very different. Dressing in layers, carrying 2-3 layers on you, and then chucking things on the course as you go along. And I think the only thing that will prevent you, I am a cold weather person. I don't do very well in warm races, so I know what works for me. If it's going to be really hot, then I know, what do I need to do? I need to be extra careful. So clothing you can definitely plan for hot, cold, and rain, and chuck it as you go along.
Even for Tokyo also, same.
Probably the same kind of situation.
Boston, Tokyo, cold.
You had
So
some.
what is interesting, also one interesting observation, so people at the start line, you would see, they wouldn't look like runners because they're all covered.
Yeah.
Even my race in 2015, where it was gloomy and cloudy and even rainy. So you could see people in pajamas, again they're wearing their night suits, the worst, with holes or some stains because they're going to discard it. They don't look like runners. Garbage bags, nothing to cover themselves, and standing in portable loose lines, they just don't look like runners. But once they start running, and one by one the clothing starts coming out, the hats go, the gloves go, and then everybody's running. So it was quite amusing to look at, and people from all cultures, different places, they've come from all over the world there, but all in pajamas and like old clothes, so that they can throw it away when the race starts. That's quite interesting for me.
So, now that all of you have done Boston, I think apart from Ashok and Vaishali, I don't think anyone has, probably Panika is going back this year.
No, next year. Last London.
Going back to Boston
Yeah.
now. Do you want to go back to Boston after having done one, for example, JP?
Not next year, I'll definitely go again.
But do you have an urge to go back?
Yeah.
Is it specific to Boston, or you do with any other race?
No, especially Boston. Only Boston. I will not do anything.
Yeah. So same here. I think I qualified only once, and I ran it. I do want to prove to 2 reasons. I want to certainly qualify one more time, and it will be in the next age category now. I'm already in the next age category. Also, my coach, who actually motivated me to try and qualify for it, has actually run it once every decade of his life. Once in his 20s, all the way into his 70s. 60s, sorry, it's not 70 yet. So I'm looking at seeing if I can run it once in 5 years, as long as I can afford to do it. That's my goal. And By the way, I'm not inspired to run any other major. I prefer the smaller marathons.
But Boston will still be there.
Boston is still there, but I'm not really interested in running any of the other majors.
I know you have a different view of...
Been there, done that, but I like to see the passion of the youngsters now who are just raring to go and do it there. So it's nice to see that. And I would do the world majors. I've done 3 of them, 3 more to go, just to see the places and just experience the race. That's it.
Bobby.
No, my thing is I've traveled internationally extensively. I've done lots and lots and lots of travel. So traveling just does not motivate me to do an event. So no, Boston, I wouldn't want to redo it. There's so many other great events. So if I could afford it, then I would do any other event.
But you'll still feel that
Boston,
runs, you should do it once at least.
You have to do Boston once. Seriously, it is far different from anything else. Boston is just a jaw dropper. Literally anyone you meet, anyone you talk to, your jaws will only drop off. Everyone you meet is like 3 hours, 5 minutes. People are 50 years, 3 hours, 5 minutes. Even in the race course when you run, you'll see women. You would normally think women would be slim and fit who are the real supervisors, but it's absolutely not necessary. You don't need to be those slim and fit. There are women who are really heavy looking women. There are the elders who are 65, 70-year-old who will overtake you at around the finish line. So you'll see all those kind of varieties. That's the only place where you'll get to see all those varieties. You just walk around the streets. That's the only place you'll see people wearing the t-shirt even before they run. And they're just proudly showing off that I'm doing the Boston. You wouldn't see that anywhere else. So it's really an experience that you would get to see. You see, the full city will be, everyone would be wearing this t-shirt. Because no other event you would actually be so proud to wear that t-shirt. But this event, and you travel across the US, wherever you would travel with the jacket for the next 1 week, 2 weeks. People know that you have come for the Boston. So, and people recognize it. That color of Boston is really unique. You have this and you have the blue one. So these are the only 2. So it's very unlike in all others, they change colors. So it's really unique, very easy to catch. The logo is so easy to catch, Adidas and the logo. There are not many ads in it. So it's really special. So
Vaishali, would you like to go back again and again?
I was supposed to go next month, but I'm traveling for work. So I think, like Bobby, I need to travel a lot anyways, but I've done all the world majors. I didn't even have the world majors in my mind. I did Boston a couple of times, and then I figured, hey, there is life beyond Boston, so I did the world majors. But it's a special race, and I don't have a specific plan, but I would love to go every couple of years and enjoy the race and enjoy the city, because unlike all the other world major cities, I think there are 2 cities I really enjoy. I think Boston and New York are the 2 races I like to.
Ash. Finish with. Okay, do you want to have the last word of this?
2015 when I did, it's just a 5 days gap. Monday you do the Boston, following Sunday you have to do the Big Sur. And both are very, very challenging. Big Sur is not the easy course, as good as Boston course, up and down, but very scenic. You really love. If you get a chance, you should try once. Then you know the beauty of that course. But the course is really very beautiful. One side you will find the Pacific Ocean, other side you have to run. You can see people running 5 miles away.
So you like to think Big Sur is better than Boston?
I won't say the quality of the runners.
Enjoyable race.
Very enjoyable.
It's about the
and the
top
numbers
3
are also
most
not very
popular.
big.
I think
Hardly
after
you'll
New
find
York
5,000,
and Boston,
6,000.
Big Sur is the most popular race in the US.
Yeah?
Marine Corps and the Big Sur compete after the big.
Back to back, I think this is the 9th year running. And overall, I think 33rd year.
So that also has a lot of history behind it.
Yes.
So Yash, I know you have been going there multiple times, but how many more times?
When will you stop?
As things stand, next year wrap up the 10th, and I think because it fills up the April month. In the past, we never thought about doing races in April because there was always Boston there. So London got deferred, Paris hasn't been done, Rotterdam hasn't been done. So these races, I suppose, beyond the point, how does it matter if you've done 10 or even 20? So I think next year I'll stop.
provoke the panelists on one question. I think this year they've kind of opened the Boston Marathon to also, you can get to Boston through a guaranteed tour, operator, etc. I mean, many of the marathons across the world, you have lottery, and you had you can go through tour holiday. Yeah, tour operators. Boston was one where you had to qualify. So I think this year, is it this year?
No,
Yeah.
it was always
It has
there.
always been there.
It was always there. Just that this year Gaudi has got.
No, but world over, it has been there. Or?
No. I'm not sure.
Not for Boston.
Not for Boston.
So Boston had only three routes. Three. One is qualified, one is charity, and the other is elite runners who get invited. Clubs and partners, of course, sponsors.
So, do you think it's a good thing to happen, or we should just left like Wimbledon? Everyone wants to wear the white dress. I mean, nobody wants to play a Wimbledon with colored clothes, right?
Yeah, so I think, I've had mixed views on this in the beginning. I felt, hey, it's just a race. But when and because maybe my struggle to get to Boston was not as intense, but when I sit back and I reflect on the hard work that really goes in for, say, 80% of the population, really sweats it out to get to that race. And if it's such an iconic race, which is perhaps the first race and perhaps the only race in the world, unlike New York where they have 4,000 seats where you can time qualify, so if you're 20 minutes faster than your Boston time, you get a quota. But New York does not stand for qualified runners. It stands for a race which raises one of the highest amounts in charity in the world. Boston stands for time runners. It stands for qualified runners. And when I reflected on it and I said, when 80% of the people are sweating it out to even, for years and making sacrifices to get to that start line and getting that medal and wearing that t-shirt and walking the roads, do you want someone to actually, in fact, I feel they should even have a charity route, but they do. But do you want to extend it and then go and say that you have organizations which would sell that? Personally, I don't think, they should have diluted it to that level just to raise money. It's a BAA decision, but I don't think it's fair.
So what percentage is now that? It's a small percentage.
Very small, very small. It's not the number, it is the spirit behind it. That if you have, if you took 2.5 years to actually get that yellow t-shirt, you have a guy who has $10,000 who can buy it. I think it's that spirit which I don't agree with.
No, the $10,000 guy will go through the charity route.
Whatever.
This is a tour operator, whatever he does. No, I'm saying, if you just talk to anybody who is a serious Boston runner, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So, now it's a matter of you asking what does Boston stand for? Who does it stand for? So it's easy to say, okay, listen, it's only a couple of hundreds or a couple of thousands, and it doesn't really make a difference to you. But somewhere you feel that it is at the end of the day, because the total field is capped. And it is at the cost today of somebody who's missing out. And
if you had those extra seats, give it to more time runners.
Yeah, I think you only had 30,000 runners, right?
Correct.
Around.
Plus minus.
Around.
The year 2014, I think, had a higher number.
Because of 13 bombings.
So that probably makes it a little bit more difficult for people who qualify.
Not
See,
really.
the number is so like
It's so less, so it doesn't
It's
affect the
still
overall
like
picture.
that.
It's like somebody buying a movie ticket and the shutter shuts right there when you came to the front. Now the rest of them say, hey, that's all, it doesn't really matter, but there is some few people whom it mattered to. And he did all the hard work that somebody else, in fact, he probably did even hard work because we're talking about somebody who missed it by seconds.
So as it is happening, right? That thousands of runners are missing out because of the cutoff.
Qualified, applied, and missed it in 2 seconds.
Because it's getting tough. Like now,
How many seconds was that?
54 seconds.
54 seconds he missed Boston qualification.
No.
Though I
Qualified.
Qualified, but then the
cutoff.
final
Cutoff.
Entry.
Yeah, my qualifying for my age was 340. I did in 338, but the thing closed by 337 something.
it's getting tougher. First you felt you needed a minute, 2
Correct.
minutes. This last year it was 2.5. This year maybe 3.5.
No, last year was
Last year,
320.
Last year was
3 and a
already
half.
3 and a
3
half.
and a half.
28 seconds. 28 seconds.
Here it is
Could get
getting
to
Not
4.5
more
and
than
then they will change it.
So many passionate people talking about Boston.
One more thing which I forgot. When you do Big Sur, you get 2 finisher medals.
Yeah.
One is the Big Sur medal, and the other is the Boston for Big Sur. 2 medals you will get once you finish.
So overall you have 3 medals.
Just like when you do cocktail, the second time you get 2 minutes.
I mean, just to put I have a very neutral view to that. I mean, from my point of view, I mean, Boston is known as a qualifier. So everyone knows Boston as a Boston qualifier. You need to qualify and do it. But I'm also neutral to the view that if someone else gets to experience it, keep it open to a few more who can afford to pay that. Some additional people get to experience it, is what I have. So yeah, I mean, it contradicts to what everyone works, as he said, you know, we work hard, really works hard. It contradicts to that principle. But yeah, I mean, diversity is there, events can have diversity, and people who can afford to go into an operator could do it. So, which is...
I think anyway, Boston Association has anyway decided. So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I mean, the association decided it, yeah.
But still, when you go and sit in here, if you say, how did you, say, no, I paid money, they say, come sit here.
Yeah, I know how it feels. Right?
You might, next year if you did it, you might just find that somebody sitting here.
But I think it's glad that...
So will you invite him if he does that?
We'll sort it out next year.
We'll cross the bridge when we get to it.
Let's get back to action this year. So
then you'll get people like me asking who's coming.
There'll be a debate on something else. The actual...
I think it's nice to be passionate about the Boston Marathon. I think I will reserve my views.
Could you probably share your experience? How was it? I'm sure it was a bolt out of the blue. So.
Did you go for a PB that year?
I mean, we see a lot.
Was the weather good?
See, it also has to do with because now in pop culture and folklore we see these movies like Stronger and Patriots Day coming out. So for somebody, a lot of us who haven't done Boston, and America, like you say, has this habit of patriotism, rates high, and to some extent they overhype it. So is it really as significant as it's being shown?
Okay, so firstly, just to set the context straight, the bomb happened at a certain time.
4 p.m.
I'd finished, I'd even gone home, and I got to know about it because I put the TV on. So realistically speaking, it only affected people who were probably in wave 3, I think, onwards. Right? So, okay. After that, the city went into a lockdown. You were wondering whether you can step out for having a dinner that day. And the next day, you weren't sure you could catch your flight. But they did allow flights and everything to happen. But that day, it was like a lockdown. Because we know if you've seen the Patriots game, the film, there was some things that started happening and everything else. So, yeah, things changed quite a bit. And security in Boston changed. And I'm just sad sometimes why we're waiting for it to happen before we change. In the security aspects of it. Really, the way you see the route and when you run it, it's totally different. That, you're sitting in a bus and you're seeing something from an 8 feet height. It can either psych you out, like Comrades was like, man, this ever gonna end? Boston is like, you never really felt it. There's a hill, is there a hill? You never felt it. If you ask me, it doesn't matter. If you're going there for an experience, then please do the whole full Monday. Go there, do this, doesn't matter because it's not going to matter to you. If you want to go there, keep your focus on the race, you want a strong race, don't do these things because you never know what might side.
Fundamental to Boston, you need to have a lot of experience. And in retrospect, now that all of you have done it, would you say that you could have done it probably a few years earlier if you wanted to?
I don't know. It's
Vikram, how old are you?
Vikram is going.
How old are you?
32.
I think perhaps I took to running really late. I never ran till I was 35 years old. So I came from a completely non-running context. It was more for leisure, 5Ks, stay fit. I started doing marathons only in my 40s. But I think if I rewind and if I had the benefit of knowledge and if I had the benefit of hindsight and to be able to appreciate what racing is, what running is, what Boston is, and if I had all that knowledge at my disposal, I would have definitely, I'm not sure if I would have qualified, but I would have, if I had all that information, 10 years before I actually started running, I would have tried personally, and I can only speak for myself, I would have tried to do it earlier. I just didn't feel I knew enough about it.
So this thing about while the youngsters are not sitting here today, is because now is when the hype is been happening. So if you look at the trend of participants from India domestic to Boston, it normally is going up. Not because maybe we couldn't, I could have applied 10 years ago maybe, but it never struck you, it never captured you, and you never could justify why should I spend 1 lakh.
Yeah, plus running hadn't evolved.
Now,
you know,
I think another couple of years, I mean, I'm sure next year if you had this a month later, we'll have a few youngsters. If you have it again and again and again, you'll have a few more. So the profile will get a little more mixed.
Yeah, I mean, till 2009, my aspiration was to do a sub-4.
No, I mean, RFL used to have
only then could I start even looking at anything.
They used to have an offer now. Anybody does sub-4, coffee on the house.
Yeah, very few people used to do it then.
And now sub-4 has become sub-3.
I could have done when I was 30 years, when I was in Air Force, but I was not aware, I could not afford. There are so many like that who cannot afford or who are not aware still, but they can easily qualify.
So I think we're running a little late, so we'll end the Q&A there. Before we end, I would like to say a few words. I would really like to thank all of you because for me, getting together this kind of panel.
You should be sitting here also.
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of you. But it's really a pleasure. I mean, you will not understand that, but I think to get all the Bostoners, most of the Bostoners who have done from Bangalore, being on the panel, I would have really wished more people who had actually signed up to be here. Because the kind of wealth of information that you could actually get from the people here is tremendous. In fact, when I was trying to do it last year, I had to literally go from person to person to understand about Boston. And here you have the who's who of the running community, and also people who have actually done the Boston Marathon and willing to share the knowledge. And today I think I'm very happy that all of you had a very open kind of conversation, which I think really benefited a lot of us and people.
Just one quick question. So will Bangalore have a much higher number of Boston marathoners from any other city by any chance?
In India, yes.
In India.
Yeah. I think so.
And share numbers, I don't know the many of us repeated.
No, I think it just number of qualified in Boston, Bangalore compared to
other cities
Delhi
like
or
Mumbai.
Pune or Mumbai is higher as of
Another
now.
1 or 2 years you will find.
Maybe we can have this roadshow going there as well. But and thank you very much because all of you had to really take that effort to come over here. Thank you so much. I would like to thank BumsOnTheSaddle as well. You guys have been tremendous setting this up. We would wish to do more sessions out here.